You're watching WTV News, live on Wartburg Television. From the Grant Price Studio. Breaking news, local coverage, and sports. This is WTV News. You're watching
Welcome to
WTV
the studio.
News.
Breaking news in the Wartburg community as co-head wrestling coach Jim Miller announced earlier today that he will be stepping down, effective at the end of this wrestling season. Current co-head coach Eric Keller will take over as full-time head coach this next season.
Miller began at Wartburg in 1991 and piled up 394 wins and 9 NCAA national championships. His wrestling teams have won 157 straight Iowa Conference dual meets, a streak that is currently ongoing.
Now, Coach Miller has coached 34 individual champions, and joining us now are two of them, Cody Silvestri and Landon Williams. Now, the wrestlers found out that Coach Miller was stepping down yesterday after practice. Landon, what was your reaction?
At first, it was a real shock. I didn't see it coming at first, but then after we just started talking about it, and it wasn't that big of a deal after he just told us.
Okay. Cody, your reaction?
I knew it was bound to happen at some point in his career, but I didn't really expect it to come, as soon as it did. But we're pretty fortunate enough to have it passed down to a real good coach, Coach Keller. So the fate of Wartburg College is going to be in his hands. I think he's going to bring Wartburg College great success.
Now, during the press conference, someone asked, do you feel like there's going to be added pressure on the guys this season, it being his last season? Do you guys feel like there's added pressure?
I don't think so. Milboy's passing down all of his knowledges to Coach Keller, and he's already involved a lot with us and this program. So I wouldn't necessarily say that there's going to be a lot of pressure, but I think it's just going to be more motivation for our team and the future Wartburg team. So
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any more pressure than it would already have been, because I think it's something that we can embrace, and I feel like just like last year, they were just working off of each other, and I don't think there'll be anything different. We won't even probably think about it at all.
Okay, we're now going to hear a quote from Coach Miller earlier today, just talking about how, since it will be Coach Keller taking over, it's a lot easier on Coach Miller.
This obviously was not a easy decision, but it obviously makes it a whole lot easier for me knowing that Eric Keller is in place. He is more than ready to take over this program.
All right, guys, now he was talking about how important it is for Coach Keller to be taking over the program, and Coach Miller was also talking about how he's going to remain involved in wrestling and involved at Wartburg. So how nice will it be to have him as a resource going forward, and not just at Wartburg, but beyond?
Milboy is definitely one of the best resources, Wartburg has, and he motivates a lot of people throughout, Wartburg, and having him just stay in our lives, it's going to still feel like Milboy's there all the time, with us, and Milboy is Wartburg, so it's going to be good.
Welcome back to WTV News. You're watching breaking news coverage that earlier today, Jim Miller, Wartburg College's co-head wrestling coach, announced that he will be stepping down from his Wartburg wrestling coaching position after this season. Now joining us in the studio, we have Romeo Jamesi. He graduated in 2009, and he's a former Wartburg wrestler, and Joe Breitbach, who for years has been the Wartburg wrestling announcer. So I guess we'll start with Romeo. What was your reaction finding out that Coach Miller would be stepping down?
It was a surprise. It was definitely a surprise, because I really thought that Coach Miller was going to stay maybe for another 10 years knowing him, so it was a surprise to me. So it was truly a surprise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And Joe?
Shocked, we knew it was coming somewhere down the line, but we just had a big party, and we were celebrating 20 consecutive championships. I figured we'd have 5 more, and then we'd do it again, but no, it came about, and I applaud him for it. He's doing it the right way. We've got the coaching staff in place, and he's going to be around this year. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Joe, when did you find out? Did you find out during the press conference, or?
Actually, Coach came over to our house, and he waltzes around. It's not his swagger. He just sort of had ants in his pants, and I figured something was up, and all of a sudden he broke the news to Julie and I, and that was last week. But we're glad he did it that way. You know, I would hate to have gone to that press conference today not knowing what it was about, because there were a lot of people that did not have an idea what was going to go on there today.
Right. We're now going to hear a quote from Coach Miller earlier today, just talking about how the wrestlers changed the culture all over the program when he started here.
Understand, when I came, we had a solid program, but we weren't winning championships. And I think it was 15 years in between when we won our first conference championship that first year. But I just wanted to win one. You know, I just wanted to win one. And we had a group of athletes that kind of changed the culture. They took it upon themselves to change the culture of this place, not only of what was going on in our room, but how people viewed us nationally.
Joe, what do you think of what Coach Miller just said?
That's truly what happened. I've been around Wartburg wrestling since way back 45 years ago. And he's come into the program, and he's taken it from the grassroots up to the national power that it is. And
your coach of the year
also changed the attitude of people around the campus of what Wartburg can do, and not only just in wrestling, but in other sports. And it's happened because of him.
Now, Romeo, do you have a favorite memory of Coach Miller?
Favorite memory? There's so many of them that float in my mind, but one of them is for sure my freshman year. Someone mentioned to Coach Miller that I said I was just here to wrestle, and Coach Miller called me down, brought me down into. We had a racquetball. It used to be the old PEC. He brought me down there and asked me the question. I'm hearing this rumor, you know, that you're just here to wrestle, and I said no. For me, that was the best memory to me. Why? Because from that moment on, I knew that he really did care about me, you know, individually succeeding in life. So that's my favorite memory of him.
Welcome back to the studio. We're now joined by Wartburg Wrestling co-head coaches Eric Keller and Jim Miller. Earlier today at the press conference, Coach Keller was thanking Coach Miller for all that he's done.
Life lessons, obviously on the mat, but way, 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 way beyond that, man, in every area of my life. It's a little emotional. I didn't realize it was going to hit me. But I want to say thank you. You know, I mean, I truly believe there's no one out there that's better at mentoring young coaches and setting people up for success. That's what you do. And, you know, for me to have an opportunity to basically learn this profession from you is a blessing, and I feel so extremely fortunate. So thank you for everything, man.
Okay, Coach Keller, we saw you get a little emotional there. Talk about those emotions.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you can't really prepare for. You know, I knew it was going to be emotional, but to actually let that overcome me, and it kind of caught me by surprise. But you know, I mean, it was from the heart, and you know, there is a lot of emotions behind everything that's transpired throughout the last 12 years for me, and you know, I've never actually had that opportunity to really thank Millboy like that, and to relay all that stuff to him. So to try and put that into words, and you know, especially with that moment, it was tough.
Now, Coach Miller, you said you made the decision in August, and everyone who we've talked to said, you know, we knew it would be coming, we just didn't know when. You know, when did you start thinking about it?
I started thinking about it many years ago, really. My son TJ graduated in 2008, and that's really when I first, you know, started seriously thinking about it. And I didn't want to get out just because of that. And, you know, now it's 4 years later, and, you know, at some point I just knew, like I said, it was the middle of August, but I just knew, without a lot of specific reasons, that it was the right time.
Okay.
So.
Now, Coach Miller, during the press conference, someone asked you, how do you want to be remembered? And you had a long silence.
Yeah.
What was the reason for that?
You know, number one, something you don't think about too much, but obviously the answer, I mean, it's beyond wrestling. You know, it's not just about wrestling. It's caring about kids on and off the mat is the most important thing, and what goes on with their life beyond their career. So, yeah, that was a tough question, but it was a good question, and something I believe that, hey man, I guess I never hasn't been a real concern about how you'll be remembered, but that's some of the things that we stand for.
Coach Keller, Coach Miller is talking about how he's going to be remembered. How are you going to remember him?
In a lot of ways. You know, I talked a little bit about it today, but just his leadership and the principles and things that he stands for, there's never a question about that. You know, I mean, he is who he is, and it's the right things. And so all those things, all those lessons, all those you know, hours and hours of talks and guidance and all that stuff. I mean, there's so many things that I'm going to cherish and remember.
Coach Keller, in the press conference, you mentioned how Coach Miller has never said, this is my program, you know, this is our program. How important has that been?
It's huge. You know, in the context that I used it was talking about, you know, is as an assistant and being invested, and I think it is huge because, you know, he wants it that way. He wants it that way for the assistant coaches. He wants it that way for the boosters and the you know, the rest of the family, the alumni. It is our program, and it's a great way to lead. You know, and I the way that he instilled that in all of us coaches as assistants, you know, and he continues to do that. You know, it really helps young coaches take that ownership, take that responsibility, and grow. And you know, I mean, because that's the same thing that he has done for so many guys that have came through his program wrestling-wise. He's done for so many coaches. You know, I mean, there's been so many guys that have helped throughout the years in this program that he's had a huge impact on, whether they went on to coach or whether they went a different avenue at some point. Just to really understand and really see those lessons and really get all of that is such a huge thing. And so, yeah, I mean, for him to have it everybody's program and not his it is huge. It's a great way to run things, and I'm a huge believer in it.
Welcome back to Wartburg Television. You're watching a breaking news segment. Now, Coach Miller, one of our viewers tweeted at us and wanted to know, what's next for you?
Guess we don't know right now for sure, but I'm going to be at Wartburg. I mean, that's what's next. But initially, what's next is attacking this year in wrestling, and so that'll won't be over until the middle of March. And so in the meantime, we're going to work with different places throughout the college and just see where I fit in the best and what the administration would like me to do. And in the meantime, we're just going to try to go after another championship.
Coach Miller, how much would it mean to you to go out with another national championship in your final?
You know, I think the biggest thing is if we wrestle to our potential, I'll be happy. You know, whatever that might be. You know, so that is the key. You know, can you compete to your ability or not? And that's easier said than done. And so we're going to have a lot of adversity this year. We have adversity every year, and how we handle that with this group and remains to be seen. But obviously, we have high goals, and we want to put ourselves in position to compete for the championship. So that's the plan.
Coach Keller, what are you going to try to learn from Coach Miller in this last season before it's up to you?
I'll just keep soaking it in. I mean, that's the thing. You know, there's always going to be different scenarios and incidents that come up that are always learnable, teachable moments. And you know, I just plan to continue to soak it in and enjoy every day. You know, I mean, I love what I do. I feel blessed to be able to do what I do, and I'm excited to be able to do it for another year with him.
Okay, Coach, when we talked to Cody, he said the fate of the team is in your hands. What kind of pressure does that put on you?
Well, that's Sylvester's words, but yeah, I mean, it's. I talked about it a little bit again in the press conference. You know, about what's first seen as pressure and what I see as expectation. And you know, I mean, I've always had the same expectations for this program, for the team, and for each individual guy, and that's not going to change.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. You've been watching a live breaking news coverage on Wartburg Television. Stay up to date with our Facebook pages and the Wartburg Circuit for more information.